Hello, and welcome to your professional learning opportunity on curriculum adaptation and evidence-based lesson formats. Today's agenda. First, we'll welcome you. Then we'll do some introductions. We'll retouch on who the members of our team are. We are going to go over our objective for the New Teacher Support Series. We're going to go over navigating the New Teacher Support Series dashboard, just a little review, classroom setup, and then we are going to go into story-based lessons. We're going to talk about creation, adaptation, and differentiation. Just a reminder, these are your Extensions Program ECCT contacts. We have Erica Rogers as our program manager. You'll have Mary, Jennifer, Deanne, Kristen, Sonia, Paula, Emily, and Miranda. And these contacts are going to be based on your location and your grade level. So by now, you should know who your EPECCT is. And if you have any questions or needs, you can contact them for support. For additional support, you have also been assigned a New Teacher Support Series district mentor. It is either going to be myself, Bo, or Miss Paula. This is dependent on your grade level. So if you are in secondary, middle, high school transition, you are going to have me as your Extensions Program Liaison. And if you are in elementary school, you are going to have Miss Paula. Please, please, please do not forget to join our New Teacher Support Series GroupMe if you have not already. This is where we get our contact list for when we send out our emails and our alerts for different professional learning opportunities, as well as opportunities for you to win some prizes and us to collaborate. So please keep an eye on that GroupMe, keep those notifications on. We greatly appreciate you using this format for communication. It makes it easier for us to get in contact with you. And I've really appreciated all the direct messages that I've gotten with questions. You guys give me maybe 10 to 15 questions a day, and I absolutely love the opportunity to be able to support you. I know that Ms. Paula gets those direct messages too, and just know that we work our absolute best to answer those within like 24 hours, if not sooner. We want to make sure that we're hitting all of your concerns as they come in. So make sure you join that GroupMe. It is a great resource. Let's quickly touch on our New Teacher Support Series objective. The Extensions Program New Teacher Support Series will provide the opportunity to collaborate with the Extensions District Program mentors to discuss the tools and strategies needed to facilitate individualized instruction for student achievement within the Extensions classrooms through evidence-based practices. That is a mouthful. And what does it look like? So you'll have the opportunity to earn 1.6 CEUs, which is great. You're also going to be expected from October to May to have monthly obligations. So watching this pre-recorded professional development video or attending a live session. So we know that in October, November, and February, we are going to have the live team sessions. So those can serve as your professional development visual component, but just for those months. Other than that, you're going to be watching those pre-recorded professional development videos. Then you're going to complete an exit survey via Google Form link, and then you will sign up to attend one or more of the group meet or of the teams check-ins. These are virtual. They're going to be Tuesdays and Fridays, morning and afternoon. So you'll have lots of opportunities, and they're going to be the last week of the month or the last Tuesday and Friday of the month. So please make sure that you are signing up for those. In the GroupMe, we have posted a link to the Sign Up Genius so that we can keep tabs on who signed up and who hasn't. And we will be sending emails out directly to you and then also checking in with your admin. So we're going to be CCing the admin on that as well, just to make sure that we are fulfilling all the obligations of the New Teacher Support Series. Okay, sorry, I had to get a little serious there. But back into our professional learning opportunity. We just want to make sure that everybody is getting everything out of the session. You do not have to attend the full length of a Q&A. It's just a check-in for us to go ahead and take attendance, make sure that we are seeing your face, answering any questions that you might have, and it's a really important opportunity for us to check in with you. Anyway, so that is that. Make sure that you're using your New Teacher Support Series dashboard. This is going to help you access those PD materials, and we're going to go ahead and click on that now. Professional learning materials. So when you click on this dashboard, you will see a green dashboard. I see somebody's in here. And this is going to give you important links on the front. It's going to give you the links to the calendar here so that you know when those Tuesdays and Thursdays are that we're meeting. And that's going to give you support there. You're also going to have the link to the curriculum resource guide. And if you haven't been on here, please go. This guide is going to give you the benchmark windows. It's going to give you the checkpoint expectations. It's also going to give you another link to a calendar that's going to give you those things kind of organized for you so you know when to do checkpoints, when to do benchmarks, those sorts of things if you're a visual person. It's also going to give you monthly lessons to support you. So when you click on these, you'll see that we have a link to morning meeting, which is going to bring you directly to that link for news or for news to you. Yeah, for news to you. It's also going to give you lesson plans, a suggested pacing guide. So everything's going to be included on here that you're going to need to give you kind of that baseline jump start. Now, bear in mind that in extensions, we are in the business of adapting. That's why we have that SAC license. We are here to adapt for our students. So this is going to be a baseline. This is going to make sure that you are hitting those key components of Everway and unique learning systems, making sure that you're getting all those activities done. But we know that you have to do more. We know that you're going to have to make these appropriate for small groups, adapt them based on the different levels of your students. So do that. Be empowered to do that. That is what we do in extensions. So that's my little soapbox. We know that it's not everything, but it's not supposed to be everything because we can't possibly provide you the perfect piece for all of your students, right? Your students are so unique. That's why we have a smaller amount of them because they're quite unique, and we need to make sure that we are specially designing the instruction for those students and using those evidence-based practices. All right, in order to sign up for the new teacher support series, you're going to go to My Talent and you're going to type the course number into the bar. That course number is going to be provided in the GroupMe, and then it's also provided in your monthly, we'll call them newsletter emails. So make sure that you're using the information there to sign up for this professional development opportunity or this professional learning opportunity, and that way you will get those 1.6 CEUs. All right, let's take a look at this. We are going to be touching on this every single professional development. We're going to be saying, where are we? How are we feeling in this section? So really quick, let's touch on it. We have anticipation, August to September. We're excited. We're ready to go. We have all these ideas. We want to meet our kids. We have our school like spirit starting, probably have some spirit weeks going on, feeling it. We are anticipation, right? You are ready. Okay, then we dive into October, right? And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling this now. If I'm feeling this, I don't want to hope, but I'm pretty sure you're probably feeling it too. This is pretty typical. So if you're feeling like you're in survival mode and you're asking for help, and that's what you need to do, you need to be asking for help. If you're in survival mode and you feel like you are, quote, drowning, ask for help. You have resources. You have your school-based compliance facilitator, you have your school-based mentor, you have your new teacher support series liaison, you have your extensions program ECCT, you have your administration, you have teachers in the building. Lean on others. If you lean on others, it opens up the opportunity for them to lean on you for your strengths. And that is how you figure out what your strengths are. People will start coming to you for technology or I don't know, bulletin boards. It's so important to lean on people and ask for help. And that's where we are right now. Let's not focus so much on what happens in December. Look at that sad little teacher. She is in disillusionment. So know that this is around the corner, right? Come November, December, we start to feel a little disillusioned, and that is okay. You are going to find yourself rejuvenated after the break. You're going to start reflecting when it comes to that spring break time, and then you're going to be back into anticipation. I promise you, come July, you are going to be thinking like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go back. I have learned what I did great, what I did not so great, my glows and grows, and I am ready to go back. So just know that this is a very typical ebb and flow. It says first year teachers. Nah, this is like first 3 years for sure. And it's not a bad ebb and flow. It's really not bad phases. You can do this for 20 years. And it honestly, be where you're going to be, feel how you're going to feel, and just know that you are very valid if you are feeling these things. If you're feeling like you're in survival mode or even disillusionment right now, that is okay. And always feel free to reach out to your new teacher support series liaisons, and we can help walk you through some of these things. It is no problem at all to get on a Teams call, hear you out, troubleshoot. We are not experts in everything, but we are experts in a lot of things. No one's an expert in everything. So we are here for you. So just know, like, social, emotional wise, take care of yourself. Do that self-care that you need to be doing at home. Sleep, for the love of goodness, please sleep. And that's going to help you get through these phases and get through the year. And look forward to the whole thing rather than just the end of it. All right, let's talk a little bit about what our classrooms look like. When we were talking about really differentiating for our students and making sure that we are meeting their needs, we want to be sure that we are creating a classroom environment that facilitates learning. And here are some ways that we can do that. So, structure is huge. We want to make sure that we are using each of these stations or these groupings, these structures, if you only teach in whole group or you only teach in small group or you only have if you only have them doing independent, I am surprised and I want to come see your room. But if you find yourself only teaching in one of these things, you are probably not meeting the individual needs of your students. You are trying and you are doing your best, but trust me, it can be really overwhelming to master something and then break into something else and get into mastery of that. But the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to gain mastery. So if you see small group and you get anxious, or you see independent and you get anxious, don't. This is a natural course. You are going to have kids working best in each of these areas. You're going to have kids who are really strong and independent and small, but not so strong and whole. Other way, really strong and whole, not so strong and independent. That's okay. We need to meet our kids where we're at. But when we are talking about these stations, we have to talk about what's happening in each of them, right? So who is going to work there? What staff will be working at this station? What students will be doing at those stations? Those are things that we need to ask ourselves when we're talking about the individual structures of our room. Let's talk about whole group first. So whole group is a great way for your class to convene throughout the day. So I think of this as like a home base. This is where we do things together. I used to call this a family space. So whenever we did whole room or whole group, I would say, okay, it's time for family space. We're going to get in our family circle or we're going to get on our family carpet. I would call it family time because it really felt like that way. Now, I taught elementary school. That might not be something that you do in secondary, but when I taught kindergarten, I started in kindergarten and I always called it family time. And then as I got into my third, fourth, and fifth, I still called it family time. And I found like this created a warm space for my students. So I would call it family time. It's time for the family get together. Let's go, friends and family. Um, and that leads me to just a thought point. I would always call my kids my friends and my family. People think differently about that. I always felt strongly that I would call them friends or family. I use terms of endearment because I want my students to know that they're loved in my space, and I truly do love them. So it's not difficult for me to say, and I've always loved my kids, right? And I'm sure you do too. So it's not hard for me to say, call them friends. My friends come to the table, we're gonna have family time. Like that's not hard to say. And when you find yourself truly loving your kids, it doesn't happen day one. But usually for me, it happened at the end of October when they started telling me that they love me. And I was like, oh my gosh, me too. Girl, yes, we love each other. But that's when you start to like develop those family relationships in your classroom. And relationships are so important, especially people sometimes think that it's not as important with our kids. It's extremely important with our kids. So gain those relationships. All right, anyway, so utilize this space. Whole group lessons, read alouds, therapy activities. There's lots of things that you can do in this space. Lots of times I would have speech therapy come in and they would do a whole group session and they do a whole group lesson. That is great. Use what you have and make sure that you're doing what works best for your class. If your class starts to get a little fidgety and not do so great in whole group after 15 minutes, do it for 15 minutes to start, work your way up to that 20, 25. I had a best practice for me in a lot of my classes is I would do whole group for about 20 to 25 minutes. That was my max. And then we break into small and independent groups. Small groups. So what we mean by small group is typically going to be 2 to 4 students and they're going to be working simultaneously. So multiple groups will be happening at the same time. You may be working on one group of 2 to 4 students. Your TA may be group or your paraprofessionals may be working on different groups. One para or might be working on self-care, getting kids to the bathroom. The other one might be doing IEP work or academic rotations. This is however it looks in your classroom. Seriously, if you have a bunch of kids with the same math goal, you're probably going to have them in the same small group and you're going to be working on that IEP with those kids. But that might not always work, right? You might have Tuesdays and Thursdays SLPs come in and one day they pull one kid and another day they pull 3 kids. This is going to look so different in each classroom. Use your space wisely, get into a swing of things, and try to make it as consistent as possible. Find something that works and then lean on that consistency, but that because that consistency is success for our kids. Independent stations. I know a lot of times I hear like, there's no way, Bo, how are my kids going to work independently? They can. You have to make sure that you're working on mastering skills. So this is why it's so important to try, and I know that this seems lofty, but try to get kids to mastery of specific skills. Find something that your kids can do independently and work on that skill explicitly. This follows the teach model, which teaches us that while academic skills are extremely important, that's what we focus on. We're also focusing on functional learning. And functional learning means that you have to gain independence. So the way this globalizes is if you have a student who is not necessarily, I hope, not working on grade level, because then they need to go ahead and be with their typically developing peers. They're not working on grade level, right? They're still working on fine motor activities. They're still working on maybe gross motor activities. It really depends. But this individual space for them can be whatever it needs to be. So if this student is able to dress a baby doll independently, or if they're able to do puzzles independently, if they're able to lace shoestrings independently, whatever it may be, play with a Velcro doll. This is something you need to find their level of independence and you need to empower them to work on that independently. So I hope this makes sense. If your student is, and this can be iPad time, it really can. It can be technology time. It can be a calm down space, or it can be workstations. If you need help trying to visualize this, please reach out to your support, like your teachers in the building, your EPECCT, your new teacher support series liaison. We can help you brainstorm these things. Think about individual kids, and we're really good at thinking outside the box when it comes to that. So I would say reach out to your supports for this. Talk to your peer professionals. They may have a different perspective. And this is typically at the beginning monitored by staff. So this can be with or without support. So the goal is to fade those prompts of support. But a student may start out doing puzzles or doing matching activities with the paraprofessional standing right there at that bookshelf and supporting student on the right, student on the left. And then maybe the students over to the side are working independently on skills they've mastered. Like I said, you're going to hear me keep saying this. You have to do what works for your room and for your kids. So next is a cool down space. It's good to have a cool down and break space. You want to make sure this is student specific and it's been even used in your classroom. If you know that there are specific triggers, like I had one year, I had a kid who was triggered by the crunchy paper, like that foily paper, and we used to have it in our cool down corner, and we had to take it out because it was a huge trigger for her. And that's just student specific. You're going to have certain kids that like certain things, because kids that don't. It's important to make that calm down or that timeout space, that break space, individualized for your students. But it's good to have the space. It's a good place to go calm down when we're having an escalated behavior. Remember that this is not a reward. So do not hold this ransom. It's not usually good to hold rewards ransom, but don't make a sensory corner a space that kids can only access if they complete something, right? Like this is not a reward station. This is a place for them to go meet their cool down needs. It's a calm down space. So if a student asks for a calm down space, it's really important to respect their communication and either convey to them, we're currently working on math. I know that you want to go to the calm down space. Let's go ahead and first math and then go to the calm down space. If that is the parameters on which they're going to be able to attend the calm down space and get that calm down time, then you need to set that very explicitly. If there is not something going on and you do not have structured activities happening and they ask for the cool down space, it would be my recommendation that you go ahead and let them go to that cool down space because our students are communicating. We want to facilitate that communication and we want to not necessarily reward, but we want to what's the word? We want to acknowledge. We want to acknowledge the communication that they are making with us. So it's important to not withhold a cool down space. All right, make your space work for you. Here is a variety of pictures on how these spaces can look from elementary all the way up until secondary high school. You have to make it work for you. Look how different each of these spaces look. And we can kind of guess that the first one's probably elementary school, but it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. Of course, we would encourage our secondary to be more age level appropriate, like the ones that you see in the next pictures. But the picture on the bottom right could be anything. The chairs are a little bigger, so it makes me think it's secondary, but that is a space that could be appropriate for elementary, maybe upper elementary, middle school. So, it doesn't always have to be desks that are isolated like you see in the bottom right or the top middle. It can definitely be small group spaces. We want our students to be working collaboratively. That's one of our evaluation points. So, yeah, so it can always look different, make your space work for you. Let's talk about some boundaries. So, boundaries are very important in our classrooms. We want to teach our kids boundaries. It's one of the most important functional skills, and it also facilitates our ability to reach them academically. If we do not understand boundaries, it makes it very difficult for us to facilitate effective instruction. So there are physical boundaries and there are visual boundaries. There are some ways to create boundaries in your room. You can use room dividers, colorful tape, lights, carpets, floor dots, furniture placement. These are all ways to create those boundaries. What you want to think of as student needs. So, elopement, if you have a student who is trying to get out of the classroom, you can place furniture. Something that I like to stress to my teachers is that a lot of our students with autism have object permanence, right? So, a lot of times, what is successful, I call this the Sims mindset, is if you put something in the way, it will often block them just as a redirection, right? This isn't true for all of our kids, but a lot of times our students with autism who have that object permanence, if you remove the visual of the door, a lot of times that door is poof, it's gone to them. That is, like I said, not always the case, but a lot of times it's the case. So if you are able to place a bookshelf, not in front of the door, but along the pathway of the door, you will see a lot of times a decrease in that elopement behavior, making it more difficult. Another thing is if we make it more difficult to get out the door, it makes it so we can get to the student quicker. If there are some boundaries in their way, it makes it a lot more difficult for them to escape, which makes it easier for us to chase it. So keep that in mind. That can be a great way to use boundaries. Wheelchairs and physical needs. Boundaries, like visual boundaries, are great for wheelchair and physical needs. So if you have a student with a wheelchair, sometimes what I've seen is we want to make sure, well, first of all, we want to make sure that they're always able to maneuver through the classroom easily. So that means making sure that your desks and chairs are appropriately spaced so that the wheelchair can get through. Also, sometimes tape is effective in making sure that we are placing the wheelchair in the same spot when it comes to like positioning for desks or small group, those sorts of things. If you have one wheelchair in the class, sometimes it's good to create that little square so we know, okay, this is where the wheelchair goes, and it helps our other students to not encroach on that space as well. So that's just one way that you can use it to meet those wheelchair and physical needs. Behavioral supports, absolutely teaching boundaries and teaching children or students where their space is and giving them space and giving that autonomy over the space can decrease maladaptive behaviors such as eloping, but also physical touching of other students. If we teach boundaries like this is Johnny's blue tape square, when Johnny is in his blue tape square, we do not touch Johnny. Now, we don't want to touch Johnny ever, but having a visual boundary makes us understand like, oh, Johnny does not want to be touched. He's going to his blue space square. He does not want me to touch him. Sometimes we need to communicate with our students in creative ways that create a visual. And that is one of the best ways, visual boundaries, to teach like this is a safe space. And it needs to be reciprocated, right? If you're Sandy, this is Sandy's purple square. When Sandy is in her purple square, she does not want Johnny to touch her. So Sandy, go ahead and go to your purple square, and that's going to make sure that you guys are not having any physical contact, right? It's an intervention. So think of the boundaries as sometimes interventions. Here's some examples of boundaries. Top left, that is a student workspace. I do this when I am in a classroom with mobile students or students with behavioral needs. I do this off the bat. I create those workspaces off the bat. It gives them ownership of their space. It makes it easy for me to say, hey, Bobby, can you go ahead and go to the orange square and you're going to work on your math activities, and it creates that independence. So you also see on the bottom left, that is an example on how you can use furniture to facilitate students understanding like this is a small group. Top middle, those are physical boundaries with the furniture to show like this is a calm down space. Underneath that, you see visual boundaries that show like these are your individual workspaces. This can really help when you're working in small group, to say like this is where your work goes, so that if we have students that are kind of like eking into other people's space, it creates that physical or that visual boundary. And then to the right, that is an individual workstation that is created using physical boundaries of the furniture. You got to use what you have in your classroom. I know it's different for everybody, but if you need collaboration, like I said, reach out to supports. Schedules are extremely important. They help students understand expectations. They allow students to anticipate events of the day. They empower students to build independence by interacting with their own schedule. That every minute needs to have a purpose. So we need to include calm down time or choice time in the schedule. So we do not want free time. We don't want to say like, okay, we finished math, go have free time. That is evidence-based practice. That is a surefire way to find your way toward behaviors, maladaptive behaviors. Our students do not do well with unstructured time. It's incredibly confusing to have unstructured time because you are not getting any guidance from your teacher who you trust. She is the leader of the room, and all of a sudden she's telling you, do whatever you want. It's okay to have choice time, but choice time needs to be explicit. Do you want to go to the reading corner? Do you want to go to the kitchen? Do you want to go have iPad time? Have them choose. And if they choose the kitchen, empower them to be at the kitchen. You made a choice. You're going to be at the kitchen. There is no rest for the wicked. There is no resting time. You have additional adults in your classroom so that you can take turns. If you need a calm down time or you need a break, take it. You have breaks. Please take your breaks. You need a calm down time, but don't make your calm down time their calm down time, because that is going to lead to escalation and you're going to wish that you didn't have that calm down time. So give yourself peace. Make sure that every minute has a purpose and it exists on your schedule. You want students to have the opportunity to prepare for change. So if you have picture day or a fire drill, or it's okay to put that into the schedule and explicitly teach it like, hey, you see guys, we're going on a field trip today. Normally we would go to APE at 9 o'clock, but instead we are going to get on the bus. Teach that schedule, help them prepare for it. They need help anticipating the events of the day. Think about how frustrating it is for you when you expect something to happen and you show up and it doesn't. For our students, they are, I mean, they're just like us, right? Like I would be annoyed at that. That would, if I showed up to the media center and they said, oh, sorry, we're not doing media today. We are having a professional learning opportunity for staff. So you're going to have to go back to your classroom. One, I'm ticked because it's hard to get my kids to go back because it's in their expectations and they are rigid, and it is fine. We are teaching less rigidity, but we're rigid, right? I'm rigid. So now I'm ticked off because I had to go back to my classroom and you changed my events. If you had just sent me an email at the beginning of the day, I could have prepared mentally, but of course you're like frustrated, right? Now escalate that. Make yourself a little person who can't communicate and is scared and nervous, and it's going to create behaviors, right? It's going to create maladaptive behaviors. And if it doesn't create those behaviors, it doesn't mean that it doesn't create anxiety for our students who do not have maladaptive behaviors. I can give you a litany of examples of when I was at Metro School and I had students who were fully wheelchair bound, high needs, right? And I would see that when I did not review a schedule or I had a change in the schedule, it created anxiety. And I would see different types of behaviors, of physical behaviors, increases in seizures. Like it can increase your anxiety for all of our students. So a schedule is a great way to share the events of the day for everybody. Here are some examples of some schedules. You might have a first then. A lot of people think of first then as a behavioral tool, and it can be a behavioral tool, but a lot of times it's also used as a preparation for creating a more in-depth schedule, right? If they're not ready for the schedule that you see on the bottom, kind of left, kind of middle, they're not ready for multiple things on the schedule yet, that's okay. You can start with a first then, like, first we're going to do breakfast and then we're going to do group time. Then you move that group time over to first and you say, okay, first we're going to do group time and then we're going to do small group, and first we're going to do small group and then we're going to go to recess. Like, you can take it one thing at a time and you can create a very, very adapted schedule. On the top right over there, that could be a whole group, that could be an individual that you find on their cubby, above their cubby. Like, it really depends. And then the other ones you see are a little bit more advanced, right? So these are just examples of visual schedules. Okay, let's talk about our curriculum. So we use in CMS News to You, which is now called Everway. Everway encompasses multiple solutions of instructional support, and these act as the foundation for our extensions program classes. So this is your foundation of your evidence-based practice. Throughout the year, you're going to have the opportunity to enroll in professional development courses through My Talent that dive deeper into everything that Everway has to offer. So today we're just going to focus on the solutions in order to get started, but I'm also going to include information in this presentation, and we're going to send information out that gives you the opportunity to enroll in specific courses. We have this Everway or ULS 101, 201, 301, and these are going to go more in depth to the different solutions. So just know this is a brief overview, but we are going to get into the other ones. So here we go. Let's talk about unique learning systems. So ULS is designed as a one-of-a-kind solution that specifically helps students with special learning needs master their state's extended standards. So this is a curriculum that is specifically focused around our extended content course of study. That is why it's so important. So when we're doing the pacing guide, when we are following ULS and its systems, we are following our extended content standards. Not only is it an evidence-based practice through its adaptation and its systems, but it is also aligned with our state standards. So that is why we are so heavily focused on unique learning systems as the foundation of our learning tools. Here's some expectations that we have within unique learning systems. So we are going to expect those monthly checkpoints. These are going to assist in planning for daily instruction and tracking growth for our students. It's also very helpful when it comes to IEP time, making goals, and we can talk a little bit more in depth on that when you do the more in-depth ULS Training 101. Here is how you pick the different levels. So level 1 is going to be combined content. So it's going to have your reading, your math, and then your overall content. Levels 2 and 3 is going to be broken up to content, reading, math, and word recognition. You are just required to do 2 times per month, a pre-test and a post-test. If you're doing level 1, it's just one assessment, right? So you're going to do one at the beginning of the month, one at the end of the month, and it's going to be that combined content. If you're doing level 2, we want you to use your best judgment on this, but at least be doing the reading and the math, right? You can do content and you can do word recognition, absolutely. But we want at least the reading and the math to be done for our level 2s and our level 3s. So that is that expectation for the checkpoints. Here are our expectations for the benchmarks. So for tracking, it's for tracking specific skills at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and for progress monitoring. The ULS benchmarks are modified performance tools for gathering baseline data and tracking progress. We are expected to do 3 or more ELA benchmarks at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and 3 or more math benchmarks at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. So it's going to be those same benchmarks, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, and those benchmarks should be selected with the student's IEP goals in mind. So you want to take a look on, or when you go to the ULS 101, when you take that actual training, you are going to take a more in-depth look on how to get those benchmarks, how to get those checkpoints. But like I said, this is just a brief overview. You can also find that training in your new teacher support series dashboard under professional learning. So please, please, please take a look at that. You're going to see where you can enroll and then My Talent, and you're also going to see the video for ULS 101, or we're going to start calling it Everway 101. All right, so Inspire. Inspire is a collection of adapted classic novels with corresponding activities to support students with access to reading opportunities that align with those provided with their peers who are following the standard course of study. So this is a series of novels. It's a great collection of novels. Red Badge of Courage. They have Huck Finn. Oh gosh. They have Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet. They have a bunch of them. I'm missing some. Oh, Scarlet Letter. So there's lots and lots and lots of great opportunities. And you go ahead and just pick a novel and do a novel study with your students. It is a great opportunity. I absolutely love Inspire. It has activities built in. And when you look at our dashboard for the extensions curriculum, you'll see that the last week of every month is actually devoted to a works or a novel study from Inspire. News to You is an instructional tool that provides adapted materials for current events, breaking news, weather, holidays, and more. I love News to You. News to You is also built into that extensions curriculum guide. It is the morning meeting every single day. I did News to You as a morning meeting every single day, and the breaking news and weather and holidays is fabulous. If you have not looked at News to You, please take a look at that solution. It is great. It's great for activities, absolutely fantastic tools. Take a look at News to You. It is fabulous. Symbol Sticks is essential. So Symbol Sticks Prime is a vast library of visual vocabulary as well as extensive collection of customizable communication tools. Please take the ULS 101. We go in depth on Symbol Sticks Prime. Fabulous. It is essential. We need to be using visually rich environments for our students to make sure that they're as successful as possible with their communication skills or communication growth. Independent Symbol Sticks Prime has everything you need built into it to facilitate those communication needs. So definitely take the more extensive training if you want more training on that. But in the meantime, take a look at Symbol Sticks Prime and get familiar with it because it is fabulous. Elderly skills. So elderly skills help students develop essential life skills and academic skills through fun and interactive special education games. So we have reading, math, social skills, decision making. It just supports growth in all of those areas of life. So that's life 3 skills, elderly skills. And it's really, really cool. If you looked at it 2 years ago and you're like, elderly skills, look at it again. It has changed vastly. It's like a completely different tool. So take another look at it. It is fabulous. I love it for small group. I love it for independent work. You can assign elderly games to student specific accounts. But like I said, we'll go a little bit more in depth in that. You'll see that in ULS 201. So it's going to be the second, the more in depth. Positivity. This is a fabulous solution. It's a comprehensive online behavioral solution designed to support classroom management, empower students for self-regulation, and it's a simplified collection of reporting behavior-related data. So if you have a student who is struggling with behavioral challenges, we are going to ask you to first behavior goal. If the behavior goals and interventions are unsuccessful, we're going to go into an FBA and we are going to be asking you to log this in Positivity. Positivity is a great data collection tool that is going to be perfect for reporting, especially when it comes to those FBAs and BIPs. So really, if you have behaviors in your classroom, maladaptive behaviors, please take a look at Positivity and get familiar with it and take the Positivity training that we're going to be offering. All right, so please use the Extensions Program Assessment Calendar for checkpoints and benchmark assessment windows. So when you click on this, you are going to see, oh, it does exist. Don't worry, I'm going to open that back up. The link is dead. But when you get to the point where you get this PDF, you're going to click on this and it's going to bring you to a calendar. I strongly encourage you to go ahead and print that calendar out if that works for you best. You can just keep it digitally, virtually, if that works for you best. But it's going to give you those due dates for your checkpoints and your benchmarks. All right, let's touch on attainment just a little bit. So Attainment Company provides evidence-based curriculum that aligns with the extended content course study. It is rich in specially designed instruction that should be used to supplement the required baseline curriculum for extensions. So our required baseline curriculum for extensions is Everway. It's unique learning systems, everything that we just talked about. But Attainment is a supplemental tool that you can use. You want to contact your EPECCT for additional support with attainment materials. If you have attainment materials in your classroom, which we're going to review in a second, please do not throw these away. These are materials that have been bought by the EC department. Please keep them in your classroom. They are logged and we have a log of them. So please, please, please do not get rid of those materials. If you want them out of your classroom, contact your EPECCT and we can work with you to get them into a different location. Please do not throw them away. If you have them in your classroom and you want additional training on how to use it, contact us or your EPCCT as well. and we can go ahead and support you with that, provide you with some additional training. Here are some things that you might see in your classroom. The ELSB, the ER or ESRB, Building with Stories, Early Numeracy, Early Science Pathways, or Touch Math. These are some things that you might see in your classroom that you don't know how to use or you do know how to use. Feel free to use them. They're great for small group. I don't use them for whole group lessons because I do our unique learning system, our baseline curriculum for a whole group, but I love attainment for small group activities. I would often have IEP goals running with attainment. It's a great, great, great tool to supplement our baseline material. So yes, 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 use, if you're secondary, you might see teaching to the standards for ELA, math, science, exploring American history, and then there's touch math upper grades as well. We also have transition curriculum. So currently we are in year 1. And if you are in the extensions program curriculum guide, which is linked in this presentation, it's also linked in your new teacher support series. It's linked everywhere. If you need the link, contact one of us. We will send you that link. If you're using the extensions program curriculum guide, at the bottom, you will see transition curriculum. All the transition curriculum from the county is linked there, as well as adapted curriculum guides for using unique learning systems. So you'll see you have a bunch of content for transition curriculum down there in that extensions curriculum guide. So please, please, please use. You will also see in that curriculum guide that we have social emotional learning lessons linked. You can go ahead and click there. You can scan there. Character education in CMS school or in CMS is a partnership with parents and the community to foster honest, responsible, and caring students. It is an intentional and proactive effort to help students understand, care about, and act upon basic values that we all share. So SEL is important. Do it. Do SEL. It is a great thing to do. Morning meeting, touch on SEL, do a little bit, do a lot, do a whole group. You can use SEL to target behaviors for students specifically. Use it. It is a great tool and it is linked in your curriculum guide. Speaking of the instructional curriculum guide, let's just go ahead and look at this real quick. I've been talking about it. It's a Google Drive or it's actually a sheet. It's a Google sheet that contains support materials for instructional implementation or extensions program curriculum. So kindergarten to transition, sample schedules, sample data sheets, extensions program resource library, and professional development library. Let's click on it and just take a look. So it's the orange one. The new teachers is the green. Oh, look at you all in here. The extensions curriculum guide is the orange. It's going to give you those monthly lessons. And like I said, if you are lower, it's broken into lower, intermediate, middle, high school, and then we have transition broken off here. And then we also have the character development in here. So that's going to be updated monthly. You're also going to have your resource guide, and the professional learning is coming soon. So right now we have, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Boop, boop. We're going to make sure that we're updating both of these. Just bear in mind that we are updating this as we go. So now it's in here too. And you're going to see things linked in here as we get those professional developments made. Yeah, so everything you need should be in here. And if you need something and it's not in there, please let us know, because this is our opportunity to take your feedback and add things as you need it. If you need it, chances are someone else needs it too. So, all right, here we go. We are going into our adaptations. We are going to talk about how to create a story-based lesson. This is a story-based lesson format. So a story-based lesson is an educational approach that teaches academic concepts by embedding them within a narrative structure. So story-based lessons are something that was born from attainment, right? So the method that you're going to see is an evidence-based practice that was born from attainment and has been adapted to be more digital, more technology driven, making sure we're getting those 21st century standards. We want our things to be presented in a way that is appropriate for our kids and how they learn. So This story-based lesson format has been adapted to be appropriate on slides so that you can use it as a presentation. The method transforms lessons into engaging experiences, helps make abstract ideas concrete, and improves knowledge retention and the application by connecting students with on a deeper level or a more emotional level. So that's that making connections. So it's important to note that this lesson format utilizes the core components of story-based lesson, but applies those components across subjects and grade levels. So every single subject, not just ELA, every single subject can follow a story-based lesson format. So every subject I have ever taught, every lesson I have ever made follows this format. And I need you to know that I have experienced growth with this. It is an evidence-based practice, like I said, born of a curriculum resource that is very, very old. Attainment has been around the block for a long time. So this is inspired by attainment, and this is something that we strongly encourage you to start using when you're creating your lessons and adapting your own lessons. All right, so here's the format. It's broken up into part one, part two, part three. So introduction, content, and closing. In the introduction, we have our title, our objective, our I can statements. We're going to have our standards on that page as well. We're also going to have in that introduction steps for critical thinking and problem solving. We're going to activate prior knowledge or do an anticipatory set. We're going to make predictions. We're going to ask some questions that are thought provoking or pretest questions. We're going to do our repeated storyline. We are going to do our vocabulary. All of that is introduced in our introduction, and that is retaught. So I will reteach an introduction every single time I pull out a lesson if I have to. It's a great thing to reteach. You can never teach those steps to critical thinking and problem solving too much. You can never activate prior knowledge enough. It's always important to reteach storyline and vocabulary, reteach just as much as you want. Content. So part two is the core content of the lesson. So it's standard-based curriculum, your unique learning systems, your Everway. Your check for understanding questions, vocabulary references throughout the lesson. You're going to have that repeated storyline throughout the lesson. You have chances for engagement and participation. You're going to have a variety of mediums. So videos, objects, sensory. You're going to have universal core vocabulary built in, or anything that increases communication. You're going to have a built-in reward system, brain breaks, skill slides that focus on IEP goals, adaptations that are based on visual and hearing impairments, sensory impairments. Your content is like the meat and potatoes of your lesson, right? This is going to change from subject to subject. I mean, this is a really, obviously, it's the core of it. It's the content. Closing is going to be those questions, those reflection questions. Typically, they are those thought-provoking questions that you had at the beginning, and you repeat them at the end. Like, okay, let's take a data point. Let's do a ticket out the door. What were our learning objectives? Did we meet them? It's a great time to do some formative data, right? You're going to do your making connections, which we'll talk about. That is not intuitive. A lot of people don't know what the making connections means, but it's an evidence-based practice that we're definitely going to review. And you're also going to put your extensions activities in the closing. So that differentiate activities, small groups, independent work, just any additional stuff that you can spend your time doing. Part one, part two, part three. So these are the parts of the lesson. I also want you to think of this in a different perspective, right? We can think of this as whole group. Typically, I go through this as a whole group, and I'll teach it like 1, 2, 3, like I'll teach it over the course, and it'll be in a whole group. But when I break into small group, I teach it again. So a lot of times, if I have 3 adults in the room and we are able to do content, I will say, or even 2, I'll say, okay, we're going to do part 1 together. We're going to introduce together, and then we're going to break into small groups for part 2 and part 3. That is a great way to attack a story-based lesson, because I love to do whole group for about, like I said, 20 to 25 minutes, but you can get through your introduction in 20 to 25 minutes. That's not a problem, even less. And then you can break into that part 2 and part 3. And then what I like to do is one group is doing part 2, one group is doing part 3, and then they switch halfway through, and then the other group is doing the other activities. For me, you are free to do whatever works for your classroom, but for me, that's tried and true. Once I started doing that, In my classrooms, I created a system and routine that was very relaxing, very predictable. Believe it or not, I had my kids standing up, tucking their chairs in. They knew when the timer went off, I would say switch, and they would just switch. This is a great, predictable structure that you can follow with your students. So consider it. Consider it. All right, let's talk about part one. So here's your introduction, part one. This is going to be your title slide. Make this cute, make it pretty, do whatever you want to do. I am actually going to show you a different example of an actual lesson momentarily. But I'm going to show you an actual lesson that we can go through, and I will actually be in another training teaching you like you're the student, like it's a virtual lesson. I'm going to teach you the lesson so you can see how I do it, right? But this is just teaching you the component. So a title slide, give it a pretty background, do what you want to do. But what you need to do is make sure you have the title. So what is the lesson? Let's say it's chemical and physical change. Chemical and physical change, and then you could put, I don't know, upper elementary, whatever it may be, right? You want your I can statement. So I can identify the properties of matter or something like that, right? Like whatever it is, or I can identify key details in a text. Whatever the standard is, that is your focus standard, you are going to make an I can statement based on that. Now, that I can statement can change from week to week. If you're doing a different standard every week, if you're doing a different I can statement, if you have more than one I can statement, go for it, do it, go crazy. But your standards are also going to be listed here as well. So make sure you put your I can statement and you put your standards here. Next is your steps to critical thinking and problem solving. There's a lot of ways that you can do this. I personally like to put this on a switch or a voice output device with a multi output. So that means that it can do more than one thing at once, right? Another way to do this is to print this out on what I would call a placemat for the students. They can point as you read them. All right, point number one, we're going to listen to the question. Show me listen to the question. And I would always do it with sign language. So that was just like my personal preference. So I would have the kids say the first one and they would say, listen to the question. And when it was voice outputting, I would say, listen to the question. And my students who could sign with me would sign with me, listen to the question. But it's called simultaneous communication, right? Simultaneous communication. We want to make sure that we are using a total communication approach. It's okay to be using sign, pictures, verbal communication, voice output. Use them all. You can't communicate too much, right? Or in different mediums. You can't actually say too many words. That's a economy of words, but you can't communicate in different ways too much, right? You're going to hit somebody somewhere, right? You just want to put all that communication out. Anyway, lots of ways that you can do this. The reason it's important to do the steps to critical thinking and problem solving is because it teaches our students how to problem solve, how to analyze, how to think critically, how to draw conclusions. I do this 4 times a day minimum. When I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching a 4 subject day, I typically teach a 3 subject day, but I do it twice a session sometimes because I do my questions at the end of the lesson too. I'll do it in my small group. So I teach this constantly, constantly. I want my kids to know the steps to critical thinking and problem solving. I want them to have it memorized just like I have it memorized. Listen to the question, listen to all your answer choices, think about your choices, answer the question by choosing one of your answer choices. I want them to have it memorized like I do because once I have it memorized, I can start thinking about what it means, right? Okay. Anticipatory set. So an anticipatory set is a tool that's going to activate prior knowledge. You can call it activating prior knowledge if you want. I love saying the word anticipatory set. I think it's fun to use. I think it's fun to use higher level vocabulary with our kids, right? Is there anything more fun than hearing our kids say anticipatory set? Like I love it. I would always have like 1 or 2 kids who would say anticipatory set, little kindergartners saying anticipatory set. I'd be like, that's the biggest word in your household right now. I mean, like, I love it. So it's up to you. You can call it activating prior knowledge if that's what you want. I had some teachers who struggled with saying anticipatory set, but just know it's the same thing. Activating prior knowledge and anticipatory set. I typically do a video. I find that that is very supportive. Kids like to watch the video, they attend to it. You can also do something tactile. You can take a leaf from outside if you're talking about fall and say, we are going to crunch this leaf. Feel the leaf, pass around the leaf. It's crunchy. What does it mean when the leaves get crunchy? And then you ask a question, right? based on that anticipatory set, what do you think we're going to learn about today? So in that example that I just said for fall, we pass around the leaf, we feel it, it's crunchy. What do you think we're going to learn about today? You just touched a crunchy leaf from outside. The leaves are getting crunchy. Do you think we're going to talk about fractions? Do you think we're going to talk about seasons or fall? Do you think we're going to talk about Othello? What do you think we're going to talk about today? That's the kind of randomness you're going to get if I have to on the spot think of choices. But ask them that anticipatory set. Take a vote. It can be a vote in the class. Oh, 3 of you said we're going to talk about Othello, and 5 of you said that we're going to talk about fall. If you said fall, that was right. We're going to talk about fall today. If you said Othello, we are reading about Othello later, but that's not what we're talking about in this lesson. Talk about that. Have that conversation. I know why you picked Othello. I know why you picked fractions, but we're actually going to be talking about seasons in this lesson. Let them know what we're talking about, right? And then your questions, right? So these are your thought-provoking questions. You tell them what we're going to talk about. This is typically 3 to 5 questions. I usually get these off of Unique and I pull them from the checkpoint. So I'll pull the checkpoint questions and those answers, and I will ask those questions because my core content is going to be pulled from Unique Learning Systems too. And we'll talk about that in a second. So 3 to 5 thought-provoking questions. You're actually going to get this as a editable, guideline. When you get this, you're just going to copy this slide. Bing, 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 as many questions as you're going to ask, right? Next is the objective. So you're going to put the objective, and then you're also going to make sure that everything you do has a visual support. So that I can statement that you had on the first slide, bloop, put it right here, and you're going to provide that visual support and representation. So it is okay to repeat things over and over and over. You can't say them too much. I can statements should be repeated, right? But here you're going to have a visual support. So if the objective is, I can identify numbers 1 to 20. I don't know. I'm just picking something. I can identify numbers 1 to 20. You might have a visual support that shows numbers, or you might have visual support, or if it's I can count to 20. This is just an example. You might have a student counting objects, or different visuals. Like maybe you have them counting objects, you have numbers, and you can go over each of the visuals, right? It really depends. It gets a lot easier when you're talking about specifics, math is always easier. I can solve fractions, whatever, or I can add fractions. You put a picture of fractions. Just make sure you're using symbol sticks. Anything you can think of, anything in the world, any picture you can think of, symbol sticks has it, and it does a good job. If you put in fractions, it will give you everything it could possibly be, right? So it's going to be very supportive in that. So search for pictures, make sure. I'm going to say this. So lots of times what I see is an objective that's I'm going to use this as an example because I just saw it. So I saw something that said interventions, right? And it said the word interventions, and the picture underneath it was an intervention. When somebody has an addiction to eating rocks or something, and that show intervention, it was like a banner that said intervention and a sad person in the middle and his friends comforting him. Make sure that's not the intervention that we were talking about. We were talking about intervention in an educational standpoint. So keep in mind, check the picture. Make sure that it is actually the word that you're trying, because a lot of times we have hyperbole, or we have we have things that we don't mean the word that we're saying. Read. If I'm talking about reading, make sure that you don't put a picture of a reed that goes in an instrument. I hope that makes sense. But check your symbols, check your pictures, make sure that they're actually visual supports. Next is your repeated storyline. This is so important. This is the main idea of the lesson. Repeated storyline is going to repeat throughout your lesson. When I do a story, for example, and I'm splicing, or I'm snipping the pictures into my story, or into my slides presentation, I make sure that the repeated storyline is at least every other, because that's a job for somebody. Somebody can turn the page and somebody can be doing the repeated storyline, or somebody can be saying the repeated storyline. Joey, it is your job to tell us the repeated storyline today. And whenever you see a yellow star, I want you to tell us the repeated storyline. You might be a reader. Yellow star might come up the page and Johnny is like, it's my turn. It's my time. You read the page and you say, okay, who's doing our repeated storyline? Bup, bup. Joey, sorry, not Johnny. Johnny is going to want to do it, but it's Joey's job today. And you say, Joey, go ahead and tell us that repeated storyline. Empower your kids to have different roles. Repeated storyline is a great role. Turn the page is a great role for a student who may be a nonverbal communicator, and you're trying to just get them to activate switches and engage in a lesson. That's a great thing to do for somebody like turn the page. Very easy, simple. It's done every time you turn the page, so there's a lot of areas for data collection. All right, so here are some vocabulary terms you will see in the lesson. So after we do that repeated storyline, we're going to go straight into our vocabulary. Do 1 to 4 words. Don't go crazy with your vocabulary. 1 to 4 words is plenty. That's your focus vocabulary. Yes, you're talking about other words, but this is your focus vocabulary. If you are using content from unique learning systems, which you are, because it's our requirement, our baseline, it is going to have vocabulary lessons built into it. Pull 4 verbs, pull 4 vocabulary words from that, take them 4 at a time as you go through the month and make your way through those vocabulary terms. Then you're going to put the same vocabulary, the visual and the definition, and you're going to go page by page. So you're going to say, here are vocabulary words. We have chemical change, physical change. We have no solid, liquid, gas. I would probably do 5 here, just to be honest. Make it work for you. And then I would go into it. Let's talk about chemical change. Let's talk about physical change. It's going to be a different one on each page. So you're going to have to copy this page, tick, 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 make your vocabulary. All right, a KWL chart. You can do this if you want. You don't have to do it. I do a KWL chart for every single lesson. I mean it, as much consistency as possible brings our students success, right? So I always like to talk about what you know. And I keep using science, but let's go ahead and use math for a second. Let's say that we are talking about multiplication and division, right? So what do you know? Well, you already know how to do addition. You learned addition last month, right? We know addition. We know what addition is. What are we wondering, right? What are we wondering? What are we going to learn in this lesson? I wonder how, and then I will go into what you wonder. So maybe we're wondering multiplication. I wonder how to do multiplication, right? In science, this looks different, right? Like this is experimental, but this is what you want to learn. So what I know, what I want to know, and what I now know is a good way to think about this too. So what am I wondering? I'm wondering how to do multiplication. Are you guys wondering how to do multiplication? After this lesson, we are going to know how to do multiplication. We are going to learn how to do multiplication this month, right? And then what you learned, right? So what have I learned? We don't know that yet, right? So that's not going to be, we're going to have like a question mark here, or I don't know yet. Like, what have we learned? And you're going to revisit that at the end of the lesson. So this slide is also going to be at the end of the lesson. You're already going to have it filled out. What did we know? What did we wonder? What did we learn? And that what did we learn can be really specific. Like it can be multiplication is repeated addition. Like it could be like an actual key thing that you learned in the lesson, a main idea, a key point, something that you learned. You have to decide what that's going to be. What do you want them to learn from this lesson? And have them say it too. What did you already know? I already know how to do addition. What did you wonder? I wondered how to do multiplication. What did you learn? I learned that multiplication is repeated addition. You can have this printed out like placemat. The world is your oyster. Make this work for your kids, but embrace these different learning techniques because these are great practices to have consistently across your academics. So this is like the what you want to learn about, right? I will, and you don't have to use this, but sometimes I will say like, let's learn about, and I'll state the main points of the lesson. So you're going to start, this is the start of the core content. This is like where you start your core. What are we going to learn about? So you're going to state your main purpose. Let's learn about chemical and physical change. Let's learn about fractions, whatever it may be. This is your starting point. So this is what we're going to learn about. Get ready for the content. Have some visual supports. So I have some little blanks there. So you can say like, let's learn about chemical and physical change. Well, guess what? Picture a chemical change, picture a physical change is going to go there. Let's learn about fractions. You might have one picture, just of fractions. Let's learn about multiplication. Multiplication might be there. It depends on the content. It's content. It's up to you. But I have 2 little blocks there because sometimes you want 2 blocks. In ELA, you'll find that you're going to do more than 1 block. Like today, we're going to learn about key details, and you might have character setting an event here. Okay. And then we go into the content. Are you ready for the content? Here's the content. So content needs to be standards-based curriculum. That is why we use unique learning systems. The idea behind this is you can have a series of slides that just take you directly to the content. And if you have been using the extensions resource or curriculum resource guide, you will find that's what's being given to you. So you can literally copy those slides and put them right into your presentation, and it's your content. Because what it is it's a series of links that go straight to your resources, your activities, your lessons. It goes straight to it. So that is one way that you can do this. You can make this really simple and you can copy and paste that right in here. But what you want to make sure you're doing is throughout the lesson, like let's say it is your first day. It's Monday, first day of the month, and you're doing checkpoints, you're getting ready, like all this stuff. You have different groups going, but you're doing your whole group, right? So you click on Monday. It goes to Monday. It gives you, usually it's 3 to 6 activities that you can do, and it's probably going to be a vocabulary because they are systematic. So they are built to follow the pacing guide, right? So you have a vocabulary activity, you open that up. You're good to go. You have that vocabulary activity. You want to make sure that if you have a repeated storyline that you've introduced up there, you're using it in that activity. So if your repeated storyline is, I can identify key details in the story, or I can identify key vocabulary, whatever it is, whatever the standard is, that's your I can. It's your repeated storyline. They're all connected, trifecta. Um, that is what you are going to put on your repeated storyline. The student still has that job, right? Like you can hold up a star. You can say, whose job is it to tell me the repeated storyline, and hold up your star, maybe on your little popsicle stick or something. And it can be the trigger, whoever is going to tell you, who can tell me the repeated storyline, raising their hands, maybe selecting I can tell you, whatever it is, increasing that vocabulary, increasing that communication, whatever. Da, 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 da. You can choose based on your kids' needs. If you have a classroom full of visually impaired students, it's going to look different than a classroom full of kids with behavioral needs. It's going to look different than a classroom full of kids in wheelchairs who are deaf. Every classroom's different, so you have to choose. You have to choose what's right. But what I recommend is to always do your check for understanding questions, do vocabulary references throughout. So if you are doing an activity that is reading a story and you see a vocabulary word come up in the story, call back to that vocabulary. If your vocabulary word was, oh gosh, come on, Bo. If your vocabulary word was navigate, I'm taking it right off that screen. Navigate, navigate. And they say, the adventurer navigated the map. Oh my gosh, that was terrible, but you got it. You get what I'm saying. Say, navigation is one of our vocabulary words. Let's talk about the definition of navigation. Does anybody remember what the definition of navigation is? This is when it's great to have a placemat with the vocabulary on it from the whole lesson. Say, can you touch navigation? Find navigation on your placemat. They touch it. If somebody can tell you, great. If they can't, touching it is great too. Touch navigation. I'm going to tell you what the definition is. So many ways to differentiate this to meet their needs. You want to make sure that you're giving chances for engagement. So that placemat is a great way to do a placemat that stays on their desk. Like, it's time for ELA. Here's your ELA placemat for the month. It doesn't have to change. It can stay the same all month. You can have a little Velcro that switches out the repeated storyline, Velcros that switch out the vocabulary. You can have a placemat on their desk that looks the same for every single lesson. Spot for repeated storyline, spot for your four vocabulary words, maybe something else on the bottom, whatever you want it to be. That's a really simple placemat, though, repeated storyline and vocabulary. They can touch as they go. It's time for math. Put your vocabs on, put your repeated storyline on. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, there's so many ways to do this. I find a placemat to be easy and effective. I love a placemat. I don't really do anything differently once I discovered the placemat and the ability to have them touch to make choices and have it be just in front of them and ready to go. I had never really veered from that. So I love a placemat, a curriculum play or a lesson driven placemat. So that increases engagement and participation. Use a voice output device. If you don't know how to use them, get with OT. Get your OT in the room, get your SLP in the room and say, I want to be using voice output devices with these students. They're nonverbal communicators. How can I use it? Give me tips, give me tools. Use a variety of mediums. Use videos in your lessons. Use songs to make connections, text, objects, smell, sounds, multisensory approach. Use that multisensory approach. If you are talking about fall, get that crunchy leaf. If you are talking about, oh, come on, Bo. If you're talking about Fat Bear Week, Bring in a bear, bring in a fuzzy little bear, a little teddy bear. That's fine. What are some smells? Like I used to love, love, love. I used to do at least one smell a week, right? And if we were talking about seasons, I would bring in, everyone, not everyone, some people love pumpkin in fall. Pumpkin is a great smell that you might smell in the fall. And I would bring my little scentsy around. I would go to the dollar store, get candles. I would sometimes gear my perspective based on the candle that was available at the dollar store. I'd bring something in from my house. There's lots of things that you can do. There's so many things that you can do to create in a multisensory approach. Those smells and sounds are fantastic. You can do taste, but be careful. I try not to do taste during science because my go-to is you can't eat science because if you let them eat during science, they're going to try and eat all of the science and not all science is edible. So I kind of steer away from taste unless it's a special occasion. But smells and sounds you can always do. And smells do something to the brain. The olfactory sense is the strongest sense for memory. If you can make smells call back, that is your biggest anticipatory set. Touching, hearing, but smell, olfactory, like your smell sense is so strong. It calls back on memories. So use that. That's a evidence-based everything. That's a life-based. But yeah, use those links to ULS that we have navigation for the curriculum guide, and it's going to make it quick and easy. Other valuable content tools. So if you are not familiar with Universal Core Vocabulary, that is linked into your resources on your new teacher support dashboard and your extensions curriculum dashboard. You will see a link to the Universal Core Vocabulary training, which can be done outside of CMS. It's very quick. It's fantastic. It gives you a little certificate that you've done it. So if you need evidence that you are professionally learning for your administration when it comes to your evaluation, you can always say, like, I did a training outside of the parameters of CMS called Universal Core Vocabulary. It's an evidence-based practice, and that's how I'm going above and beyond in my professional learning, my professional development. Built-in reward systems are great. Brain breaks, yes, build in those brain breaks. Skill slides that focus on IEP goals. So if you are working on fractions and you have a student with fraction goals, that's great. But what about your student with graphing goals? Mhm. Throw a couple slides in for counting, for graphing. It's okay to work on multiple skills when your focus skill is fractions. You got to count to know what fractions are. You got to count to know what multiplication is, right? So it's okay to have a little counting warm up. Okay, first we're going to count. Who can count for me? It's Joey's IEP goal to count to 5. Joey's going to do the first 5. Let's go. Joey, 1, 2, 3, stops at 3. Makes a note. IEP goal, data point, done. Counted to 3. Right? Let's try again, Joey. Come on, count to 5. Let's start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we did it. That's a check. IEP goal data point 2. All right, Joey's going to give us one more time. You ready, Joey? Go. Joey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great job counting to 5. 2 data points, 2 out of 3 opportunities. Counted to 5. Done. IEP goal, progress monitored. Build those into your lessons. It is so much easier to have your paraprofessional know Joey's about, and you can say it. Say it. I'm about to progress monitor Joey on his counting goal. Joey's goal is to count from 1 to 5. You can say that out loud because the adults in your room are going to know it's time to monitor that goal. They can do it on a sticky note. They can do it on a table. I used to always say, just write on your table with a vis-a-vis marker. I'll come get it. Take my picture, wipe it away, and then I have a bunch of pictures to log at the end of the day. You don't have to be a robot, but once you find something that works for you, and you don't have to be a bobot. I'm a bobot, not a robot. You don't have to be a bobot. But once you find a system that works for you, you're going to start looking a little bit like a robot because systems and routines are, I mean, the key to success, right? So once you find something that works for you, it can be something weird like writing on all the desks with dry erase markers and taking pictures and logging the data later. Like it can be, I've seen people do marble systems where they have like jars for each of the kids. And when a kid gets a plus, they doop, doop, move the jar over and they just keep going with the opportunities until they get to the total amount. Like she wants him to do it 10 times in a day. She's going to move those marbles over until it's 10 times. If he does it 6 times in a day, 6 out of 10. 10 opportunities. I'm going to give him those 10 opportunities. He only got 6 marbles. Monitor. Anyway, that's my soapbox on how you can easily monitor goals, build them into your slides, adaptations based off of needs. So visual needs, hearing needs, sensory impairments. If you have a student in your classroom with visual needs, you're going to want a dark background with a bright text like white or yellow. If they have a hearing impairment, you're going to want to make sure that you're wearing your FM and that you have opportunities for total communication built in. You want that anyway for everybody, but hearing, especially if you have a student with a hearing impairment, it's very important to have that total communication approach. Sensory impairments. If you have something that is sensorily not stimulating for a student. How do I better say that? Sensory impairments. Let's say that you have a student who does not respond well to flashing lights. You'll put flashing lights in your that's just an easy one. Or if you have a student who is adverse to the sound of glow sticks popping, well, you might want to not play that video during your lesson on chemical and physical change. And it might take one trial to realize that. But if you play that popping sound and a student starts flipping out, that's a data point where you're like, oh, okay, he didn't probably like that. You stop it, he stops flipping out, that's your data. Take your data where you can get your data. If there is a sensory challenge within your lesson that is disturbing a student, it's okay to take it out because that's not behavioral, that's sensory needs. So, like, let's meet the sensory needs of our students. Those are just two examples. My crunchy paper is a great example of that. Remove the crunchy paper. The crunchy paper does not serve a huge purpose. Remove the crunchy paper. The closing. All right. So the closing is going to include those proposed activities. So those additional activities. You can pull additional activities from everywhere. You can link them in a slide. You can make activities using symbol sticks. Take that symbol sticks training so you can see all the different ways that you can make activities. They have bingo. It's so good. It's so good. Symbol sticks is fabulous. Take that training so that you can start making adapted activities for that and using those tools. Collaborate with other extensions program teachers for ideas and resources to share. So you are a part of the new teacher support series. You are a part of the group me. I mean, send a message to somebody who is in your grade level. We're about to start breaking into, so before you get this training, we will have broken into secondary and elementary, and you're going to be in a group where you can actually post and communicate in that group as much as you want. It's just the whole group that we can't communicate in because there's like 80 people in it. But once we get into those smaller groups, start collaborating with your fellow extensions teachers. You are your best resources. There might be a kid who is eloping in a school in the north and you're in the south, and you might say, does anyone have any tools or skills or anything they've tried for eloping and getting kids to stop eloping? And that teacher in the north might have some success, gives you two ideas, one of them works. How great is that? I mean, that's the collaboration that we need. We are a community. We are a family. We are a community. We are CT. We're a collaborative team. We are truly a team within extension. So use it. Use your team members, lean on as many people as you can, be something people can lean on, and that is how we can collaborate effectively. Make activities that give you data on IEP goals. So I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but if you're making activity on symbol sticks, make one that gives you data points on IEP goals. Make a worksheet that is specific for those IEP goals so that at the end of it, you have a work sample and you have something that you can use to add to your data sheet for progress monitoring. So use those wisely, use that time wisely, and monitor those IEP goals as much as possible. The minimum would be 2 times per goal. So if you have 3 math goals, you want to monitor each of those math goals at least 2 times per week. Best practice is truly 3 times per week, but 2 times would be the minimum. We know that you're doing a lot of progress monitoring. Yeah. So here are the steps to understanding connections, not to be confused with the steps to critical thinking and problem solving. These are going to help our students make complex choices. They're still going to support them in thinking critically and creatively. They're going to draw conclusions. It's going to help them analyze, and it's going to exercise you're exercising and communicating sound reasoning. So we want to be using reasoning when we're making connections. Making connections is something that is an evidence-based practice. It's something that personalizes learning. I always go over these the same way that I do with the steps to critical thinking and problem solving. I have them do it, point to it on your placemat, or show me the numbers 2, 3. You show me the number. I'm going to tell you the step to understanding connections. You hold up the number and Joey's going to read the steps to understanding connections. Make those collaborations. Force our students to collaborate and you're going to get really great results. So That's the way you can do that. Making connections. So we want to be making connections to the school, community, and world. This is already set up to where if you make a copy of this, it's going to link to it directly. So if you click on school, it's going to have a space for you to put a video for school. If you click down here on the bottom right, it takes you back. Community takes you to community, and so on. So what I like to do is I like to give these three options, these visuals. I like a kid to come up to the board and touch it, or I like to have the visuals out if they're not one who gets up and makes choices, have them choose, what are we going to talk about first, school, community, or world? This is a great, any opportunity I have to have students choose from a field of three visual choices, even if it's not aired, is an opportunity I like to take. And that's it. Thank you so much for sitting through this session on story-based lessons. I hope that you found that this was helpful. Curriculum adaptation and evidence-based lesson formats are something that hopefully you will become very, very comfortable with. If you need any additional support, please, please, please reach out to your new teacher support series liaison, either Paula or myself. Myself is Bo. Reach out to your extension program ECCT. We're here to support you, and we want you at least by mid-year to be making one of these on your own. So we are going to meet as a new teacher support series cohort November in November on the early release day. And at that time, we are going to assign you an assignment to create your own story-based lesson in this evidence-based lesson format. And we are going to review it. We are going to sit with you one-to-one or in small groups, and we are going to review those lessons, and we are going to grow and glow, and we're just going to collaborate and talk together about this process. So we look forward to that opportunity to collaborate with you. And thank you so much for joining us for this professional learning opportunity.